What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video, in this free association, I'm going to talk a little bit about therapy. So the idea for this video kind of came up because all the time I'll see patients either in a crisis setting or in an inpatient setting, and we'll ask them, what kind of follow-up are you doing? What kind of treatment are you getting? And a lot of them will say, I'm in therapy, or I talk to a counselor, I have a therapist, etc. And you'll say, well, how is that going for you? And most of them will respond with, not very well, all we do is sit around and talk. So the first thing I'll say about therapy is that it's valuable for anybody. I think almost anybody could benefit from some kind of therapy, a place where they can go and kind of talk about some of the things that aren't going as well in their lives as they would like, and maybe to start to come up with some strategies and ways of fixing those things that aren't exactly ideal or aren't really up to par in most people's lives. So that's the first thing. And obviously, as psychiatry practitioners or as a psychiatrist or a psychiatrist in training, it's really important that you do actually find your own therapist. And this can be very difficult. But the point of it is that you first need to know yourself before you can start to help other people. And to have that perspective where you are not the person doing the evaluating, you are the one being evaluated on the other side, that can be invaluable for you in the future as a therapist if you intend on doing therapy. Some psychiatrists don't do any kind of therapy, but I think the younger generation of psychiatrists are realizing that, the biological approach to psychiatry is one approach, and it is helpful and it's useful to know things about the biological aspect of psychiatry and be able to use pharmacology to change some of those things, but it's not the whole picture, right? So you still need to also incorporate things like therapy, and you can't learn every therapy modality. You'll probably pick and choose a few. You might do CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy or psychodynamic therapy or DBT or some variation, interpersonal therapy, etc. There's many different modalities. It all depends on what you want to become proficient in. So I think that's really helpful. So that would be one thing I would say. The other thing is you need to find yourself a competent therapist, someone who actually knows how to do therapy. Because what you find, I think, and what I found with a lot of these patients who say, well, all I do is go in and talk. Well, these people may not be as good of therapists as they think they are, right? They have the credentialing, they may have the degree or whatever, they may be licensed to provide therapy, but they may not actually be good at it. Or the other case might be you may just not vibe very well with that person. So another important part of therapy, in my opinion, is finding a therapist that you kind of vibe with, that you can kind of work with, and you can see yourself having some successes with that person. So that's also important. So find yourself a good, competent therapist who actually knows how to do therapy, and one that you can relate to some degree. The other one is figure out exactly what you want. So yes, the initial phases of therapy involve you talking it out. Because what happens is a lot of people are very unclear as to what they even want in life. They don't know what kind of relationships they want. They don't know what kind of job they want. They don't know what kind of family they want or what kind of career they want. So sorting those things out becomes a big part of the initial phases of therapy. We have to figure out, okay, what's wrong with my life? And you might come up with, say, 10 things that are wrong with your life, but then through talk and working with the therapist, hopefully you can narrow it down to 5 or so things, and then I would say even just 1 or 2. From those 5 big issues in your life, try to narrow it down to 1 or 2 things that you really want to work on. 1 or 2 things that you think will give you the most value and bring the most happiness and pleasure to your life, and things that will really enhance your life if you change them. Figure it out, 1 or 2 things, because it's too overwhelming to work on all these things at one time. You need to pick and choose, and you need to start with one and work through that and then move on to working through the next. So figure it out. What is it? Is it your career that's the biggest problem? Is it that you don't have the kind of relationships that you want, and you're not, you're not able to find the kind of partner that you want in your life? You're not able to, have the friends you want in your life. You're not able to have the financial situations that you're looking for. Whatever the case is, try to narrow it down, figure it out, talk about it. and come up with some steps. Then the next part of this would be to start organizing the details. You need to organize the details into some kind of step-by-step plan of action, because ultimately where I think too many people get bogged down is they get bogged down in the action portion. They talk about it, they plan it, they write it down, they figure it all out, but they never actually take any actionable steps towards the goal. So the next step in therapy, after you've talked about it, after you've clarified everything, after you've figured out exactly what you want to work on, now you need to start taking some steps to actually work on whatever it is that's not working for you in your life. So that might be, let's say you want to go back to college and you want to study something in college, but you're not quite sure. So you figure out, well, first you talk about it. You figure out, okay, I really enjoy whatever, history, psychology, medicine, physics. It doesn't really matter. Let's just say you enjoy science and you've always, thought maybe you'd want to do physics and maybe you'd want to be like Stephen Hawking. Great, good plan. So now you need to figure out what would be the steps to getting there. What would be the steps to working as a physicist, and what would working as a physicist look like to me? And then you need to take some steps to try to figure out what it would take to become a physicist. You might do an online course. There's plenty of free courseware out there. You figure out exactly, some of the expectations, some of the types of problems you'll be solving, some of the types of work that you would be doing, and that is taking some action. That's putting you on the path to becoming a physicist, if that is indeed what you want to do. So ultimately, the point I'll leave you with is that it all comes down to action in the end. At some point, you actually have to do something. It's great to talk about it. It's great to plan it, plot it, figure it all out, analyze it, talk about it. But in the end, you actually have to do something. So with that said, guys, if you enjoy these videos, if any of this stuff is helpful, if any of this stuff resonates with you, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I'll keep trying to make content. I'll keep trying to enhance your life and add value to your life from a psychiatric standpoint.